Good evening, peeps. Right, I'm going to show you how you make your own Gemini leads, or how I make them, what you'll need to do the job. Right, so firstly you'll need your Gemini lead mould. This one has a little spacer in, as you can see by the template. You move the spacer up and down and it gives you different size weights. One mould does all. That's pretty cool. An old melting pot. I just use a really old pan. Some scrap lead. They're the leads I'll be chucking in tonight to melt down. And then you just pull all the rubbish out with a fork. It's dead easy. Now I've got an electric stove. That won't do. Don't get enough heat off it. So I use an old camping stove with gas bottles. You'll need a welding gauntlet because the mould gets hot, a metal ladle to spoon in the hot lead into the mould, Stanley knife, file, pair of pliers, there your nose cones, your rubbers, there your gripper lead, a pan of cold water to throw your hot leads in. So your tails, the little screw thread on the end made by Gemini, so they screw into your nose cones. So firstly you need to light the gas, start getting that lead melted. Whenever you're melting lead, always make sure you do it in a well ventilated place, or wear a respirator. Now I can't find my respirator, so I've got the kitchen window open, I've got the extractor fan going, I've got the back door open, and I've also got a fan. So it's well ventilated in this kitchen at the moment. I'm not going to get poisoned on any lead fumes. Right, as we can see, the lead's starting to melt. Starting to turn into a liquid now. Tip when you're melting lead: don't throw damp or wet lead in. It explodes. It'll go bubble, bubble, pop. Before you know it, you're sealing your wall, your boiler, everything's just covered in molten lead. So don't throw damp or wet lead in to melt it, it explodes. The lead's nice and molten now, it's turned into a nice shiny liquid. So I'm going to lower these leads in to melt. Best way to do them is put them into your ladle. Some people cut the wires and grips off and stuff. I don't bother. You can scrape them out in a minute. So just tip them in, let them melt down a few at a time. You scrape all these wires and stuff out in a minute. If you can hear the noises of the fans, I do apologise, but health reasons they need to be on. Right, that group of leads is melted down pretty good now. So as you can see, floating on the top are all your old wires. Just grab your fork, scoop them out, put them into an old metal container along with the rest of the rubbish. Just floats on the top. Just keep skimming it and taking out the rubbish. Throw your next group of leads in. Right, you see the lead's nice and molten now, nice and shiny. All the rubbish has been scraped out. As you can see on the tray, all the old wires and the old loops. So, the secret to getting a good cast with a mould is making sure that the mould is hot enough. Otherwise, if you pour hot lead into a cold mould, it only half fills because it cools the lead down as it's going in. So with this mould, without the spacer in, they're 8 ounce. With the spacer in, they're 6.5 ounce. So I'm going to do a couple 8 ounce first just to warm the mould up. You put your mould together, use a little G-clamp just to keep it tightly together. Doesn't have to be too tight, just enough to make sure it's tight. Here we go. Make sure you're wearing your gauntlet. Make sure you warm your ladle up. And we're just going to pour the hot lead into the mould to heat the mould up. No tails, no loops, no nothing in there yet. We just want to heat this mould up. Now you can see the top of the mould where the lead's full. So we'll just undo the clamp. Your Stanley knife just to separate the mould. And there's what would be your lead. So we'll put that back in there to melt again. Close your mould again. We'll do one more blank just to make sure that that mould's nice and hot. And pour it in too quickly. Here we go. Give that a second or two to set. Take off your clamp. Now the mould's getting hot now, I can feel it through the brush. You just want to split that in half again. And there's what would be your lead. So again, we'll just dump that back in there because we want that to remelt. Except this time, we're going to get one of these loops with the little screw thread in the end. Make sure that's fitting in the mould correctly. Close your mould, put your clamp on, get your lead, pour it in nice and slow. Here we go. Give that a second to set. Take your clamp off. Split your mould. And there's your lead. Pick your lead up with your pliers. and dump it in your pan of cold water. Right, as I said, these Gemini moulds, they were the 8 ounces without the spacer in. To make a smaller lead, you see the hole in the spacer, that's where the little screw thread for your nose cone goes in there in the mould, okay? So you put your spacer into your mould right at the bottom end, and then just put your tail in as usual with the screw thread going into the spacer. Then put your mould back together. Oh, it's not quite. There we go. Make sure your eye's pushed in all the way. Again, just repeat the process. Couple of seconds for it to cool. Take off your clamp, split the mould. And you see, there's your spacer, and then there's your lead. Oh, that one's because it's slightly overfilled there. It's just dripped over that edge. Here we go. Pull it out, and there's a 6.5 ounce weight. Straight into your cold water. Again, put your spacer in. Tail in, top of the mould on, clamp it together, make sure your tail's pushed in all the way, repeat the process. Go. Couple of seconds for it to set. Screw your mould. Straight out. 6.5 ounce weight in the cold water. It's that easy. Right, the next stage is even easier. Once your leads are cooled down enough to hold, just cut off the spare bit, the mould, and grab it with your pliers, give it a little twist. Don't throw that back in just yet because it's wet, the lead will explode. Get your file, just give that a little file there, just to smooth it off so you're not going to get any rough cutting your line and anything on the cast. There we go, nice and smooth. Now I've got two different types of nose cone. One's a plain nose cone for non-gripper leads, and the other is your natural gripper lead. You've got to put your wires in, your gripper legs. Dead easy. 4 little holes in the nose cone. Thread it through, grip it with your pliers, spin it round. There's one wire done, one gripper leg. Repeat the process 4 times. Thread it through the holes, grip it with your pliers, twist it round, fold it over, thread it through, grip it with your pliers, pull it round, fold it over, thread it through, grip it with your pliers, twist it round, thread your little bits of rubber onto each leg that you've cut into size. They come in the kit. Like so. Just screw your nose cone onto your lead, and there we have a Gemini breakaway lead, minus a bit of rubber, because that one came off. Okay, we've got a spare. I'll just thread that back on. And there we have a Gemini 6.5 ounce breakaway lead. Now for your non-gripper leads, it's just the same. Cut off your waste. Give it a little file. And just screw on your non-gripper nose. All these parts are interchangeable. So there you have a non-grip lead. It's that easy. Thanks for watching. If you do try yourselves, have fun. Remember, well ventilated area, because you don't want lead poisoning. Gauntlets so you don't burn yourself. And don't put wet lead in hot lead, it'll explode. Thanks for watching.